Audiobook Academy. Book Summary. The Little Water Sprite. By Otfried Preussler. In the intriguing tale The Little Water Sprite, the inhabitants of a fish pond are described. The first year of a water sprite's life is depicted in the book. Unlike humans, water sprite families dwell in homes, raise children, and travel to see friends and family. The water sprites resided in a mud-built home. The white sand floor was contrasted with green algae-based draperies. There were 4 rooms in the house, a living room, a dining room, and a bedroom. There was a lot of water in the rooms. There are 21 interconnected chapters in the book. All the way from spring to winter, the life of a little water sprite is shown in each chapter. Narrative is for kids, however parents can learn how to be a parent who has the strength to let their child learn from his or her mistakes through this story. A good dad also fosters his child's curiosity about the small pleasures in life. One of the book's most distinguishing features is the way it seamlessly blends fact and fantasy. Otfried Preussler inserted fantastical characters into real-world settings to create surreal drama. The reader is able to experience the lives of the swimmers through the eyes of the real character. In the case of water sprites, the normal is strange for humans, such as the water sprite mother's rage when her children enter the house with dry feet. Although water sprites mature at a faster rate than humans, there are numerous parallels between the two species. There are many human qualities in the water sprite. To describe him would be an understatement. The water sprite family was in a fantastic mood on a sunny spring day. When Mom told Dad she was expecting a son, he was overjoyed. He was the first to acknowledge that he had always wished for a boy with a head of emerald-colored hair. Over 20 of their closest friends and family members attended the party they hosted to celebrate. They got to meet the newest member of the family after a lovely supper. They were taken aback when the little critter immediately began swimming. Over the next 3 days, the water sprite set out to discover everything there was to know about his new home. He soon became bored with it and desired to leave the house. His mother was opposed, but his father was sympathetic, so he was able to persuade her to allow him to go swimming outside. Before that, he acquired a few essentials. After receiving some advice from his father, the son was instructed to keep his eyes peeled and to attempt to memorize everything that comes his way. That was plenty for his son, who was eager to learn more. He was eagerly anticipating the opportunity to have a swim around the home. Every chance he got, he called his mother and waved. The water sprite tried to recall the names of all the creatures he encountered while swimming in the fish pond with his father and kid. When they were getting close to the seaweed, the father gave his son his first caution. However, the boy became trapped in the seaweed and his father had to help him get out. After that, the water sprite was so exhausted that he was rescued by a fish named Cyprian. He was always on the lookout for fresh discoveries, so one day he went to investigate a hole in the ground and discovered an animal with many eyes. Because of the nightmares he had after seeing this photo, he spent the night with his parents. The days grew longer as we neared the arrival of summer. When Dad had some free time, he took his son to the beach. It was his first time seeing people and being above the surface of the ocean. His father had cautioned him to exercise caution with other individuals. The boy began returning to the seaside every day to see what was going on after that. He was so taken aback by seeing folks with mobile homes that he missed his father's call one time. In the end, his mother was distraught and anxious when he returned home with drenched feet. That's bad news for a water sprite since he could get sick. For a few days, he was banned from school. Dad was able to get his son back out of the house after putting in a good word for him. He felt the rain for the first time as the two of them went outside in the rain. He savored the sultry weather. More and more people were arriving as the weather warmed up. He enjoyed them because they were amusing to him. A little boat with a few passengers on board was all he could see when he ascended to the surface. He was impatiently awaiting the arrival of an empty boat so that he could test his driving skills. He had no prior experience rowing, but the nice breeze made things much easier for him. Soon after, a man approached and ordered that he return to his boat. Jumping back into the ocean, the water sprite was gone. There was a dam on the other side of the fish pond. Because the fish pond was at risk of drying out, his father explained to him the purpose of the dam. Despite Cyprian's apprehension of the dam, the water sprite came up with a new game. Only to play a joke on Cyprian, but as the game progressed, he ended up getting on the mill after missing the door. This time he waited until the miller was gone before trying it again. He opened the door and began to play as soon as he was given the opportunity. His elation was short-lived, however, when his father arrived. He was enraged that his son had nearly drained the fish pond of its water supply. The water sprite was having a great time, despite the fact that he had been chastised again. Everything that people dropped into the fish pond was collected by him. When he was younger, he had a collection of oddities like shoes, beer bottles, and more. He wanted to show off his collection to Cyprian, but the latter didn't like it because those items had no purpose to him. The water sprite was determined to demonstrate to his companions the practicality of all of these items. Cyprian was once enraged by a fisherman. The water sprite played a prank on the fisherman by rigging his line with various objects. Having lost his bait and only being able to salvage garbage from the fish pond, the fisherman was furious. Finally, he put the pot on his hook and dove right in. Cyprian had a nice laugh since the fisherman was terrified of the water sprite. The small water sprite gave Cyprian his bait worms after the fisherman fled. Cyprian's father was overjoyed when he learned of his son's accomplishments. He went out with his son at night. He started playing the harp right away. It was the first time the water sprite had ever seen the moon. He jumped back into the water in an attempt to capture it. For the most part, his father let him work things out for himself. The small water sprite was surprised to see a man wearing glasses for the first time in the fall. That object on his nose prompted him to approach the man and inquire as to what it was, but the man was irritated and informed him that water sprites do not exist. The man chased after him but was repeatedly drowned by the water sprite, prompting him to flee. Everyone in the fish pond was giggling and staring at the spectacle. It wasn't long before the water sprite noticed lads supporting something while counting yellow leaves. When he inquired about what they were doing, they replied that they were planting potatoes. They gave him a taste and he seemed to enjoy it very much. They became pals after that, bringing him treats every day. To make amends, he brought them a dish from his mother's cooking, but they turned it down. When he helped them gather wood for baking one day, they handed him a box of matches since he was delighted by them. Cyprian was in a terrible mood when he saw them. They didn't trust him, thus the water sprite shouldn't be around people. Because they were submerged, the matches couldn't function as they normally would. However, Cyprian tried to persuade the water fairy that the boys had made a fool of him, but the water sprite was unconvinced. He made his way to the surface, but he immediately ran into trouble. It was covered in ice. His father informed the family that hibernation was in order, and they all said their goodbyes till the following spring. During the winter, the water sprite had a lot to ponder and fantasize about. The water sprite is the main character and he was always very curious just like a human child. He was looking forward to each new day with a sense of excitement and anticipation. Water sprite mom is always occupied with household tasks and despite that she's got enough time to show her son some love and affection. She fears for her son's safety, believing he could be in danger. The water sprite dad is a father every child would want. He is a powerful authority figure, and he expects his kid to follow his orders. He gave his kid wise guidance as he entered adulthood. Cyprian is a family friend. He's an elderly man who's always up for a dip in the pool. While the water sprite was much younger than he was, he still spent a great deal of time with him. Their bond exemplifies the wide range of differences that can exist between generations in a friendship. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.